Hello, it's me, Richard, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Diary of River Song Series 1 from Big Finish. Now, as most of you probably know, I've not listened to a lot of Big Finish. I got into it last year. It was Torchwood really that got me into Big Finish, the new Torchwood audios, and also I wanted to listen to Spare Parts ahead of Genesis of the Cybermen, and there was also Storm Warning in my classic review series. So I've not listened to lots of Big Finish, but with all the new series releases, they're getting me interested. I wanted to buy one of them a few weeks ago, and I narrowed it down to the Diary of River Song, or a couple more of the Torchwood audios, so I've only bought the first and second ones so far. And because A, this is cheaper, it's £20 for 4 stories, and also because I've only read good reviews of this box set, I've not seen a single negative review anywhere. So because of that, I thought I'd go ahead and buy this, and I'm really glad I've done it. It's a fantastic box set. It's my first box set, actually, from Big Finish, because I've only bought single stories so far. So here's what I think of it. Now, the box set begins with The Boundless Sea by Jenny T. Colgan, and I thought this was a fantastic story to introduce River into the world of Big Finish. The nature of her storyline with her meeting the Doctor in the wrong order, it kind of makes it difficult sometimes to find jumping on points, but I think Big Finish achieved this really well by having River, well, she's kind of not travelling as much. She's settled down in a university in England, like 1930s or something, 20s, I don't know, sometime in the early 20th century. And there are some reports about a tomb in Egypt that's been uncovered, and it's not been touched, it's been preserved for centuries. And River is slowly convinced to start having adventures again, and she decides to go and visit this tomb, and it's a fantastic story. I think it's really atmospheric, really spooky. You actually go into this tomb, and I think the soundscape was done really well as well, because you really believe that you're in there. There's some really good characters. In the past with Big Finish, I've kind of found that sometimes it's a little bit hard to know what a character's name is, and sometimes to distinguish certain characters from each other. But with this box, I find it much easier, actually. One character in particular is Bertie Potts, and he kind of appears over the course of this series as, well, I wouldn't want to give too much away, but he's kind of a main character, the second in command from River. And it's interesting to see how he develops. He starts off in this box set as quite a kind of naive, inquisitive, curious kind of character, tagging along with River. So it's nice to see him develop as well. And there's this nice scene at the end where River is talking to this Egyptian pharaoh's wife, who's been trapped in the pyramid with him, and she's basically trying to convince her to not take over the world. And there are some lovely parallels with River's relationship with the Doctor and this Egyptian queen's relationship with her husband as well. And it's a little bit kind of soppy, maybe, perhaps a little bit over the top, a bit repetitive, but it is very nice to hear River talking about the Doctor when he's not here in this box set. There's a lot of that, there's little references to the Doctor and Doctor episodes. So overall, I think The Boundless Sea is a great start to this box set. The next instalment is I Went to a Marvellous Party by Justin Richards. This one is set on a kind of big party ship with lots of different aliens on board, the kind of richest in the universe. And one thing I was actually quite surprised about was that this story follows on directly from the previous one. Now, I wasn't expecting these 4 stories to be kind of linked together, but there is a great story arc that becomes more apparent as it goes on. So basically, River gets an invitation to go to this party, and it's a whodunit, really. There's a murder, and River convinces the high authorities to let her investigate, and it's quite interesting to find out who did it and their motives. Again, there are really great characters in this one, and it's slightly political as well, because the rulers of the universe, the kind of main overarching villain for this box set, they're introduced in this story, and they basically sit upon this party ship with this endless ongoing party, and they control and manipulate planets and the lives of people living on planets to their advantage. And it's quite a dark idea, I think, and it's nice to see how it's explored in this story and the third and fourth stories in the box set. So overall, I'd probably say that the first story was slightly better than this one, but it's still a very good story in its own right. Now, Signs is a very interesting story written by James Goss. When I finished listening to this one, I thought it was probably the weakest out of the four, but it is very clever. I think you just have to get your head around it, because there's not very much going on in the first kind of 45-50 minutes, and then in the last 5-10 minutes everything's kind of resolved quite quickly, and the actual plot itself is very, very clever, I think, but perhaps the balance was a bit wrong there. But anyway, the actual plot is that River encounters this future incarnation of the Doctor. Again, this follows on from the third story. She meets him on the party ship, and next thing you know, actually, in the kind of pre-titles bit, he tells her and the audience that River is dying from radiation or something. I don't want to give away too much about this one, because it's very easy to do that, so I won't say if Mr. Song is either a future incarnation, a fake, or something else entirely. I'm not going to reveal that. But I will say that it's a very unique story in its approach. It's rather like stories in Doctor Who we've had, like Last Christmas, where there are dream sequences. River is kind of having these hallucinations, and she's trying to work out the mystery of the spore ships with Mr. Song. The spore ships are introduced in this story, and they're basically these ships that go around destroying planets, and they are kind of linked to the rulers of the universe in some way, but it's not made that clear. Maybe as an overall thing, I would kind of criticise that and say it maybe needs to be made a little bit more clear what's going on there, with the main villain. But yeah, the spore ships are that, they're trying to work out who's behind them really, and what's going on, and why they're destroying these planets. And yeah, it's clever how River kind of works the mystery out gradually in her head. It's a bit like Sherlock Mind Palace type thing. But like I say, similar to Last Christmas, you're not sure what's a dream and what's real. So that's quite interesting as well. And there's a lovely scene as well with the Doctors, where River is dreaming about the Doctors, and it's quite a spoilery scene, so I won't say too much about it. But she's imagining them all there, and I was saying earlier on how it's lovely to see the Doctor reference in this box set. I just really like to hear River talking about them. Partially, I think that could be great to see, 9, 10, 11, 12 with River on some of these box sets in the future. That would be great. So Signs, probably the weakest of the set in my opinion, but it's a complicated story, but I think if you get your head around it, it's actually quite clever, and I probably need to listen to it again to appreciate it more. So the finale for this set is The Rulers of the Universe by Matt Fitton, and this story sees the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, make an appearance, and he does kind of steal the limelight a bit from River, but he is introduced into the story quite well. Basically, he is summoned to the same party ship as River, and you kind of start the story by following him, and then, I won't spoil it too much obviously, but he then ends up coming across River, because they don't actually meet. Basically, the setup is that the Doctor is trapped on this spaceship. He gets put there quite early on in the story, and River's in the party ship, kind of guiding him into telling him what to do and trying to save his life. Because obviously the Doctor's future with River is determined by him staying alive, and if he dies at this point, then he won't meet River in the future. So I think in that respect it is done quite well, how they don't actually meet, and River pretends she's somebody else, and she takes on another name so that she can talk to him. And yeah, it's really cleverly done actually. As for the actual plot itself, like with Signs, I was slightly underwhelmed. As a series finale, it kind of pushed some things aside and introduced a new villain at the end, and I wasn't entirely sure how that villain was linked to the rules of the universe. It didn't make too much sense, but again, I'll probably need to listen to this again in the future. It's a great box set, so I'm sure I will do, but that would probably be my only criticism. I mean, despite anything that happens, in the kind of main body of the story, it ends really, really nicely. The final line before River's afterward at the end is something like, if you've not learnt anything else from this experience, it's that you should never read a girl's diary when she's not looking at something. But I like the way that, despite the story in between, it ends with the diary, you know, because it is called The Diary of a Song, and it ends with her talking about the diary, and I think that's quite clever. And there's also this lovely bit at the end. Boundless starts with River kind of narrating, and this story ends with her kind of picking up from that point. And it's not kind of obvious that she's going to do that until she does, and then you go, oh yes, this is calling back to the first story of the set. And it's nice as well that we get to hear her talking about the Eighth Doctor and the Time War, and if she could speak to him, she'd say how it's all going to be alright. You know, I won't spoil it too much, but I really like the way this box set ends, and like I say, you know, even if you didn't like some of the stuff in the middle, I think the way it ends, for me, just makes it a fantastic box set. So overall, I really like this box set actually. There was a great story arc for the most part. I loved how these 4 stories were connected. Wasn't expecting that at all, because like I said, this is my first Big Finish box set. It's been really interesting to hear River on Big Finish actually. Some of you will know, if you follow me on Twitter, that I've been re-watching all of River Song's stories on TV recently, from Silence in the Library all the way to The Husbands of River Song. And that's partially why I picked this set. And I really liked River on Big Finish. You know, on TV sometimes she can be a bit too flirtatious or kind of just silly, you know, but I think on this set, the writers nail her. It's great, which is ironic because none of them are Stephen Moffat. But it's interesting because when I heard that River was coming back for the Christmas special last year, I was really, really unsure, you know. And as I heard more about the special, I was gradually getting more and more worried. But then actually, the special itself, The Husbands of River Song, and also this box set, I think, the combination of those two, and also just looking back at River's early stories, you know, how she started out, that's kind of redeemed the character for me. You know, I think the stories on this box set are definitely some of the best River Song stories we've had in terms of her character and her personality. Because like I say, in the TV series, sometimes she's been a bit inconsistent, been a bit off. You know, Let's Kill Hitler rings a bell. But no, here she's great, and it's a fantastic box set. I'd really, really recommend you go and listen to this if you haven't already. It's still available for £20 CD and download. I think it's an introductory offer that ends at the end of this month, or perhaps next month, I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, I would definitely say go and order that. You know, it's £5 a story, you can't go wrong. Four stories for £20, plus 1 hour of behind the scenes interviews. So great value, a great set, and I'd probably rate it 9 out of 10. So thank you for watching. I'm hoping to do more of these reviews in the future, so if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, let me know as well. Tell me how I could improve. So yeah, I'll see you soon, hopefully, for some more reviews.